Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to My Political Truth. And I am Jerry Tomchinsky, joining you once again at 7:33 p.m. on this Friday, August the 21st, 2020, the day after that debacle called the Democratic National Convention has ended. Before we move any forward, being that I don't come on live on the weekends, real quick happy birthday shout out to my daughter Mia. Her birthday is on August 23rd, Sunday. She's going to be 10. Happy birthday. Daddy loves you, always will, and I'll never stop. Moving right along, I don't want to bore everybody with my family details. So, hi Irina, welcome. So the DNC finished yesterday, and that was going to be the first topic that I get into, right? And naturally, something takes me off my route. So ABC News with David Muir on, I guess in New York it's Channel 7, whatever. You know, one of the regular CBS, Fox, NBC, ABC, whatever. We all know that nationally the news organizations are biased, and we all know that ABC is one of the biggest shills for the Democratic Party. I saw a couple of clips, and they only released two clips. Biden and Kamala sat down for an interview with David Muir and Robin Roberts. Not exactly an objective interview. I could already see that. Second of all, I don't know if anybody watched this half-dead human, I guess, cadaver, give his acceptance speech yesterday. I'm hearing all over the place today, oh, Joe Biden's speech was strong, it was great, it was this. Listen to me. If you put me in front, not live, but on film, record me, prop me up, put a suit on me, comb my hair to the side, give me a lollipop, write all the words down for me, and then you can edit everything afterwards. Well, yeah, it's going to look perfect. And they tried to pass it off like it was a live broadcast, and it was absolutely not. There is absolutely no way that Joe Biden can go that long. I don't know how long it was, probably about 30 minutes or so. That long without embarrassing himself or his family in any way, shape, or form. That's one thing. The next thing, they showed a couple of clips, a couple of excerpts from the interview. And how can these people stand to look at themselves in the mirror? I'm just curious, out of sheer curiosity. David Muir asked Joe Biden. He said, President Trump is, his reading was okay, Irina, absolutely. Again, with editing and everything else and pre-written scripts, he was definitely okay. But again, there was no substance in what he said. It was attack Trump, lie on Trump, say that Trump is causing this chaos, Trump is causing the division, when we all know that it was Obama that started the division with the the Michael Brown thing in Missouri, then the Baltimore riots, and he never put the fire out. Now, one question that I promise you that David Muir did not ask Half-Dead Joe or his sidekick, and this question should be directly posed to Half-Dead Joe. I promise you that David Muir is not going to ask this. He should ask, if you are so sure you know how to solve the problems of America, why didn't you tell Barry how to do it? I mean, I think that's a fair question. I think that is a fair question. He doesn't know what he's doing. He barely knows that he's running for president. And I'm pretty sure there are certain days or certain times of the day that he completely forgets that he's running for president. And that just, they're trying to take that laughable performance of a Democratic National Convention as a pedestal to put Joe Biden on to say, hey, look at our candidate. He's mentally stable, which we all know he's not. We all know he's not. We all know there's senility, there's delusion, there's forgetfulness, there's racism. I mean, listen, some of it is mental illness and a lot of it is just his personality coming through the dementia. So, out of the many disgustingly inappropriate things that the DNC did over the last 4 days, the one thing that really bothered me the most, the Hispanic woman that they got to speak, right? She was talking about how it's unfair under the Trump administration, blah, 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 blah. Well, anyway, turns out that this woman has been deported, and she was deported, listen to this one, she was deported under President Clinton, and she was flagged yet again under President Obama. So this deported illegal alien that the Democrat National Convention used this week to attack President Trump was previously deported, again, like I said, under Clinton and then flagged under Obama, to be deported after she illegally re-entered the United States. Alejandra Juarez first sneaked into the U.S. in 1998. She was caught at the border and deported back to Mexico. Now, whatever. This is what they do. They, again, misrepresented things that President Trump has said in the past. They completely took it out of context and blew it up. For example, the video that they presented shows President Trump making 4 comments on 4 separate occasions and makes it seem as though he was talking about illegal aliens. Now, the 4 comments that they quoted were as follows. One is, quote, "We will begin moving them out day 1," end quote. The next one, "These aren't people." The next one, "I don't want them in our country." And the next one, "They're animals." In each of those statements, Trump was referring to violent criminals, including the super violent MS-13, who I have yet to see a Democrat condemn, along with BLM and Antifa. We'll get back to that. So Trump said during a 2016 campaign event, and I quote, he said, "According to federal data, there are at least 2 million, think of it, criminal aliens now inside of our country. 2 million people, criminal aliens. We will begin moving them out day 1. As soon as I take office, day 1, in joint operation with local, state, and federal law enforcement." That's one. The next one, which was, I'll remind you, "These aren't people." This is what they quoted on the video. This was what he actually said. Trump made the "these aren't people" remark in response to a comment from a sheriff at a White House roundtable event on May 16th, 2018. And it was said like this, quote, "There could be an MS-13 member I know about. If they don't reach a certain threshold, I cannot tell ICE about." Trump responded by saying, quote, "We have people coming into the country or trying to come in, and we're stopping a lot of them, but we're taking people out of the country. You wouldn't believe how bad these people are. These aren't people." This is when he said it. "These aren't people. These are animals. And we're taking them out of the country at a level and at a rate that's never happened before." That's the next one. The one after that, when they misquoted him and misrepresented what he said by saying, "I don't want them in our country." This was the actual. Trump said on November 1st, 2018, "There's nothing political about a caravan of thousands of people and now others forming, pouring up into our country. We have no idea who they are. All we know is they're pretty tough people when they can blast through the Mexican military and Mexican police. They're pretty tough people. Even Mexico said, wow, these are tough people. I don't want them in our country. And women don't want them in our country. Women want security. Men don't want them in our country, but women do not want them. Women want security. You look at the women are looking for. They want to have security. They don't want to have these people in our country, and they're not going to be in our country. It's a very big thing." The next one, the final one, when they quoted him as saying, "They're animals." This was the actual quote said during an August 2018 rally. He said, quote, "Anything I want, they want to oppose. You know, I just figured out how to do the wall. I'll say I don't want to build the wall, and they'll insist on building it. I just figured out right now. So Bob Casey doesn't mind MS-13 coming in. These are the slicers. They slice people up. And remember, I called them animal, and Nancy Pelosi scolded me. How dare he call another human being an animal? They're animals. That was the quote. And this is what the DNC continues to do on a regular basis. Misrepresent, misquote, and completely take out of context what President Trump says in order to make him look like the big bad orange man they want everybody to believe that he is. Which is complete and utter, pardon my French, bullshit. Next, this is interesting. This comes from Tara Reade. You remember Tara Reade, the one who caused the hashtag MeToo movement to finish? She's the accuser of Joe Biden. So she came out and made some very, very interesting statements about Kamala Heels Up Harris. And in this exclusive, she says, quote, Kamala is a... See, I said her name right. I said Kamala. Kamala is a hypocrite. She saw an opportunity to seize a position of power and took it. The Biden accuser Tara Reade claims Harris, quote, turned a blind eye to sex assault victims after saying she believed women who came forward against the former VP. Now, again, if you've been watching me from day one, you know I've been saying from the very, very beginning that the Me Too movement ended when Tara Reade accused Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi said that's just Joe being Joe. Kamala Harris initially said that all accusers and alleged victims of sexual violence, sexual harassment, sexual misconduct should be believed. Kamala Harris said that. Commendable. But she lost all credibility when she didn't believe Tara Reade. When you say something like that in the public eye, you have to back up your own statements. That's just how it is. You have to back up your own statements. And we know the Democrat Party is not about backing up their own statements. They could care less. So Tara Reade claims when she was a Senate aide in 1993, Biden pinned her against the wall, reached under her skirt, and assaulted her. Biden has vehemently denied her claims, and current and former Biden staffers say they cannot recall such an incident. Prior to Reade making her accusation against Biden, a handful of other women had accused Biden of inappropriate touching and kissing. Listen, when you have a son like Hunter that's so completely messed up, you know that he's got to have picked up those behaviors somewhere. And I don't want to hear this nonsense that Joe Biden is an upstanding person, that Joe Biden cares, that Joe Biden wants unity. Joe Biden wants none of it. None of it, because if he wanted it, he would have endorsed it when he was vice president for Obama. He would have done some work while he's been in the Senate for over 4 decades. He would have done it along the way. Not wait till 2020 when he's running for president to make all these ridiculous promises, because he saw how it went for his boy Barry when Barry made all these promises and didn't keep a single one. And nobody held him to account for it, and still don't. In Kamala Harris's Democratic VP acceptance speech, she declared, I fought for children and survivors of sexual assault. I know a predator when I see one. You called Joe a predator just a handful of months back, Kamala. Does she not remember that? Do we need to remind her of these kind of things? Good God. I mean, when it comes to behaviors and, carrying yourself in a certain way, the Democrats just don't care. Just like, perfect example with that idiot James Clyburn the other day, when he was told on air that the post office reported a $2.2 billion loss, and this moron says the post office isn't losing money, when they just told him on air that they're losing $2.2 billion last quarter alone. Mike Pence doesn't speak often, but when he does, he says things that make sense. He called Joe Biden's speech grim, negative, and very hostile. And he claims and promises light and hope. Remember that hope bullshit that Obama brought with him? Hope and change. Vote for me. All that slick talk. Obama came in with all that slick talk and had all your panties wet. I don't know. He didn't have me fooled from day one. It's unbelievable how people are under the spell of this corrupt coward, this terrorist, this treasonous bastard. And the left and their supporters still just drop to their knees for this guy. It's unbelievable. I mean, listen, when China comes out and tells the world that they're backing the Biden presidency and they say, quote, he would be smoother to deal with than Trump. Well, no shit. You have got your breaking news there, Chinese state media. And that is what it is. It's state media. Exactly like the CNN and MSLSD and all that crap that goes through our airwaves every day. Their state media is saying what their government is praying and wishing for. And if they had any kind of pull or connections, they would try to be rigging the election also for Biden. I mean, listen, it's not a stretch to think that China would step in for Biden, is it? They know that Biden, the second he steps into office, if God forbid he's elected, he will sell our country out piece by piece. Don't let the suit and tie bullshit fool you and that distinguished old man nonsense. He's a scumbag and he's a thief of epic proportions. Do not let any of that nonsense fool you. So the name of the outlet that supported Biden and said that he would be smoother is called the Global Times. They ran a piece the day before yesterday, citing Chinese analysts who said that if Biden won the election, the United States is likely to remain tough on China. Does anybody really believe that? Does anybody believe that if Biden wins the presidency, that he is, quote, likely to remain tough on China? They continued by saying, quote, tactically, the U.S. approach would be more predictable and Biden is much smoother to deal with than Trump, a viewpoint that is shared by many countries. The same countries that Trump stopped taking shit from the second he came into office. The same countries that can't dupe us anymore. The same countries that can't get over on us anymore. Of course they have a problem with Trump. Because he's the first president, probably since Ronald Reagan and before him since JFK, to call them to the carpet for their nonsense. In his speech accepting the Democratic nomination, he only mentioned China one time when he pledged to end the United States reliance on the country for medical supplies if he is elected. Does anybody really believe that? I believe he will give contracts and breaks to the highest bidder. Joe Biden has never done anything to benefit the American people. He has only benefited the Biden family. That's it. Same with Pelosi, same with Obama. Listen, Obama came into office worth $1.3 million and left worth $80 million on a $450,000 a year salary, which he gladly took with both hands. You know, the same salary that President Trump donates. Nobody talks about this. You know, I was going to come on here and rant and rave and scream. And for what? For what? But it gives a shit anyway. These morons are going to stay voting for these people. You can't change their mind because they don't want to be talked to. They don't want to listen to anybody. Because the minute you come at them with facts, you're a racist. We know the diatribe. We know the diatribe. It's the same people that come up to you in a store when you're not wearing a mask, that can't mind their goddamn business and scream, put a mask on, put a mask on. These imbeciles don't understand that cloth mask they're wearing, that, quite frankly, I will bet you any amount of money that these idiots walking on the streets wearing the cloth masks haven't even bothered to wash them yet. They just keep putting the same dirty mask on, telling me to put a mask on when my hygiene is probably 25 times better than theirs on my bad day. I gotta hear about all this mass nonsense. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, Mike. I don't know if you're in here or not, but my buddy out in Arizona with the masks. I mean, listen, I understand private businesses, their whole mentality is, go along to get along. I get it. That's fine. But if somebody tells you that they have a medical condition and the CDC said that if you social distance, you don't need masks before they mealy mouthed themselves. So now, listen, that same World Health Organization that dropped the China virus here, now they're saying that even with the vaccine, whatever vaccine that's going to be, that even with the vaccine, we're not going to be able to go back to real life. That was, by the way, announced about an hour or so before I came on here. That even with the vaccine, our country will never go back to quote unquote normal life. So, you idiots that want to wear your masks? Wear them. But leave the rest of us the hell alone, okay? If you see somebody like me at Sam's Club and I'm 10 feet from you this way and the next person closest to me is 10 feet the other way, walk past me. Walk past me. Don't say anything to me. Don't say anything to people like me. If you're wearing your mask, you're protected. Mind your goddamn business. Don't bother. That's how people get hurt. I'm telling you, if everybody just minded their business, things would run a lot smoother in this country. But nobody can mind their goddamn business. This is the problem with the Democrats. They can't mind their business. So because there's a certain Democrat that doesn't like guns, everybody has to get rid of their guns. That's their mentality. If you don't like guns, don't buy a gun. But those are the same jackasses that surround themselves with a 24-hour armed guard. Are you guys following me on this? I mean, why are there not more people calling these people out for their nonsense and their lies and their just complete and utter misrepresentations, and they want to control you, you idiots. They want to see how far they can take the control. All right, well, this is how it's going in the main office of the deep state. All right, well, we told them to stay home and they stood home. We told them to put these stupid cloth masks on that don't protect them from a damn cold, and they did that anyway. There's not much that these dumb Americans won't do. Let's see how far we can take it. They're not going to be able to take it that far when our patience runs out. And you could see it's starting to happen. 100 restaurant owners in Brooklyn and Staten Island got together. They're going to sue Governor Cuomo. Good for now letting them reopen. Talking about we got to flatten the curve, then we could go back to normal. The curve has been flattened for a very long time in New York, and he's still not letting people feed their families. But let's give brand new boutique hotel rooms to the miscreants and the homeless all over Brooklyn and downtown Manhattan. That's another thing that this winner, de Blasio, did today. He took a boutique hotel. I'm not going to name it because I really feel bad doing that. Took a boutique hotel, told them they can't have regular visitors, and he put homeless people in. A brand new hotel that just opened within the last 5 years. This is what de Blasio did. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. We got to get rid of de Blasio. Yeah, we do. We have to exterminate the entire Democratic Party of New York. Period. We start there. We go from state to state and we exterminate. Cy Vance, the district attorney in New York. I believe he's the district attorney for the Southern District or the Eastern District. I don't remember. Doesn't matter. This guy has been an accomplice in more crimes because of his utter refusal to bring charges upon rioters, violent offenders, nothing. Every single one of these people that have been arrested for rioting in New York City have been released with no charges because of this scumbag Cy Vance. Look him up. He's also the one that never wanted to bring charges to Jeffrey Epstein while Epstein was alive. Same guy. It's it's sick to me that these Democrats get away with doing these things and nobody says anything. Like Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, she banned protests only on her block. Yeah, you heard that right. Just on her street. Just on her street. Mayor Lori Lightfoot defended the Chicago Police Department banning protesters from the block where she lives, citing her right to safety. Her right to safety. What about the other people in your city? Lori, what about their right to safety? What about the children that have the numerous, I don't even know how many children over the last few years that have gotten killed for just being out in the street and playing in your city? So you want to talk about your right to safety? What about the people you're responsible for? She continues to say, quote, I think the residents of this city, understanding the nature of the threats that we are receiving on a daily basis, understand I have a right to make sure that my home is secure. She said comparisons to how the police department protected previous mayor's home, such as that of Rahm Emanuel, were unfair because this is a different time like no other. Yes, because your goddamn city is filled with animals and savages that you refuse to put in prison. That's why it's a different time. We got mayors that co-sign violence. We got a presidential candidate that could star in A Weekend at Bernie's, Half Dead Joe. Is this real life? Or are we all stuck in a really, really bad movie right now? Listen, before I finish up tonight, I want to talk about this. Joe Biden, and I'm not going to stop for the next 8+ weeks. I will not stop. I will call out every single thing he does wrong. And don't get me wrong, if President Trump slips up, I'm going to call him out too. Because I've had it. I'm done with these personal sparring sessions. When is somebody going to stand up and be like, well, we got to help the American people? Because they just can't continue to be an audience for this goddamn soap opera every day. Joe Biden has a lengthy history of fabrication, plagiarism, and racial controversy. For instance, in 1987, Biden said publicly that he marched during a civil rights movement, but later admitted he was not an activist and he was not out marching. Now, officially, the 2020 Democratic nominee offered himself to Americans this week as an affable, trustworthy, and experienced alternative for the White House. This man has over 4 decades in politics. Nothing but controversies, from insulting regular people when he told the guy, I posted a video the other day when he told the union worker that he was full of shit, to his problems with his racism that rears its head every now and again with his stupid comments, and of course his plagiarism. We all know how he's copied speeches his entire career. Biden admitted that he plagiarized during his first year at law school. He said, I was mistaken, but I was not in any way malevolent, Biden explained. He also said about that same Syracuse University Law School that he was in the top half of his class. He was 76th out of 85 students. So he lied about that in public. Let's find something good. Earlier this year, he faced plagiarism again when it was revealed his 2020 climate plan lifted some passages from other documents without attribution. The campaign corrected the error. But in 87, Biden said about the activism thing. So he copies about activism, copies about the Green New Deal, and then he continues to say, although it's awfully clear to me what choice I have to make, I have to tell you honestly, I do it with incredible reluctance and it makes me angry. I'm angry with myself for having been put myself in the position of having to make this choice. He's a train wreck, ladies and gentlemen. Mike, you just jumped on. I was just talking about face masks and kind of trying to get into your situation. That there's really no standards, and these idiots wear these face masks that are made of cloth, but I promise you that they don't even bother even washing that face mask. And then they want to talk to us that don't wear face masks about hygiene. But I did talk about it about 2-3 minutes ago. You guys know who, I'm going to finish up with this. You guys know who Robert Gates is? He served as defense secretary for the Obama administration, and he had this really, really awesome comment. And he asked if, on a Sunday interview show, he was asked if he thinks that Joe Biden would make a good president. So he said that, I quote, "I think he's been wrong on nearly every major foreign policy and national security issue over the past 4 decades." This is a man that served on the same administration as him saying this. I'm going to say it again. "I think that the vice president has been wrong on nearly every major foreign policy and national security issue over the past 4 decades. Then the follow-up question was, would he be an effective commander-in-chief? Robert Gates says, "I stuttered a little bit. I don't know. I think I stand by that statement. He and I agreed on some key issues in the Obama administration. We disagreed significantly on Afghanistan and some other issues. I think that the vice president had some issues with the military, so how he would get along with the senior military and what relationship would be, I think it would depend on the personalities at the time." He basically just said that Joe Biden would not be able to get along with senior military officials. As commander-in-chief, what else is there for you to do? Real quick, the baby rattle and binky searching left had a conniption fit because President Trump has enough money to do this, bought some ad space in that newspaper in D.C., the Washington Compost. So they had a freaking meltdown over this, right? I swear to God, democracy dies a little bit every time a Democrat speaks. I swear to God, democracy dies a little bit every time a Democrat speaks. I think I'm going to quote that. I think I'm going to put that as a quote. Anyway, I'm going to end you guys off with a quote. This one's anonymous. The quote goes, "Silence doesn't mean that person quits. It simply means that one doesn't want to argue with people who just don't want to understand." That fits the narrative of what's going on here. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great weekend. Don't forget, we're about 70 days away from the biggest election of our lives. Talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors. The silent majority has to be heard on November 3rd. All right, everybody, have a great weekend. Love you guys. See you Monday.